All right, let's talk a little football in a week that was quite honestly kind of boring. There was one game that provided all the fireworks we would need for the opening weekend. Hey, as you know, in this channel, we are Lions fans, but we love the NFL. So we try talking about teams that the national media doesn't pay as much attention to. Dolphins, kind of one of those teams. Also, me and Chris both just grew up liking the Dolphins. So, like, we want to talk about them as well. But in this video, I want to talk about a couple things. Number one, can this offense be stopped? Let's talk numbers that back up the idea that when they're clicking, no, it can't. And then number two, let's talk about some winners, losers, risers, fallers, whatever you want to call them from the game. Because in this game, there were some good and there were some bad. So let's start with the good and bad. And it's interesting, on PFF, they put out grades for a team. And I'm going to give you something that's going to give you kind of an idea of where we're going to go with the winners and where we are going to go with the losers or risers and fallers. Their offensive rating was a ridiculous 90.1. In other words, they were phenomenal on offense. By 36 points scored, you can kind of see that. Their defense, on the other hand, was a 59.2. Their run defense was under a 50. Thus, why you can see that they gave up 34. All right, so we want to look a little bit more into that, into the offensive side of things. No surprise here. Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill were the top three players. Hill comes in at number one at a 93, Tua at a 92.1, and then Waddle a little further down at 75.8, more just less options. This was amazing, and that's why my first riser on the day, as unique as it might sound, is the offensive line. So Teron Armstead was unable to play, so they did some position switch. They did a bunch of unique things on the line. And then going up against a front that the LA Chargers have. You see that? I didn't say San Diego. All right. They found a way to protect the quarterback. 47 pass blocking snaps. No sacks. 47 pass attempts, 0 sacks, going against Joey Bosa, going against Khalil Mack. And then there's some other guys who aren't such slouches as well. That is unbelievable. All right. That is truly remarkable. 8 or 9 of those 10 pressures came from the tackles, but Tua felt it well and played really, really well. All right. So I was reading an article here, and I can even show it to you if you would like, and where I'm getting some of this just to give you an idea of how good it was. You're going against a guy, Bosa, who has 60.5 career sacks in 85 games, and Mack, who has 84.5 sacks in 135 games. To hold the two of those guys out for an entire game without a sack is impressive. When you're playing without your all-pro left tackle, even better. So that is a riser for me. If possible, another riser is Tyreek Hill. Just watching him play, to see the evolving of his game from when he was at Kansas City, and they're like, this guy is a phenomenal return man. Can he become a good returner? Can his hands catch up to where his skills are? Can he run crisp routes? Can he this? Can he that? To see what he is now as a 1A or 1B option as the best wide receiver in the league is absolutely remarkable. And to see him continue to do it, it is just amazing. And then the other riser has got to be Tua Tagovailoa. You can make fun of the jiu-jitsu all you want. You can do and say what you want. He had a much better presence around him. It's like he could feel pressure coming in. There were times where I'm like, is he holding on the ball too long? But he would get out. He would get out of the pocket. He would move around. He wouldn't stay stagnant. And it's like he could really feel where the pressure was coming from. And not only that, there were some plays. There was a play when he was scrambling out to his left, and I believe he hit Barrios. Like, it was like a 3rd and 15 or something. And he hit him. And I'm like, Tua last year while running, and Barrios was covered well, He threw it perfectly to the sideline. I'm like, Tua can't make that throw. He didn't have the arm strength last year. He is showing to be elite. I hope you have him on your fantasy team. I hope you didn't get nervous about it. So, what about the fallers? Here's one that I put on there. How about the defensive line? But I could have put them down for both because the defensive line gave up a remarkable amount of yards. They gave up 6 yards per carry, 5.9 for 234 yards rushing. All right. The Chargers can run the ball, but they're not known for running the ball. Maybe things change with Kellen Moore and all that kind of stuff. But at that clip, that is not a recipe to survive. That is how you absolutely kill your defense. The only front seven players who had a grade that was even decent were Seiler and Phillips or Sealer. I always forget how to pronounce it. With a 62.9 and a 59. Those aren't good grades. Like if it's a test, one of those still fails. All right. They all got poor run stopping grades. Everybody else had even worse. But when it mattered, they stepped up. They stepped up on that final drive. They were able to get a sack. They were able to get stops. They were able to do what they needed to do so it could be a little bit of both. Speaking of both, Xavier Howard, this was interesting to me, the way he played corner because he played it pretty well. He allowed 5 catches on 7 targets, but only 39 yards. So that's a win. Like that's really, really solid, especially against the talented Chargers receivers. But big but here, 3 penalties. So you still wonder, you were hoping he could show you a little bit that like, no, he's good. He's not too old. He can still play. He can still do all these kind of things, but he didn't. And he graded at under 50. He had a good tackling grade. His coverage grade was really, really poor thanks to all the penalties and just bad plays that he made. Bethel and Holland in your back end as safeties were phenomenal. They really were. They were absolutely fantastic. And Bethel, I'm sorry, that was a very short amount of plays. He just graded high. Deshaun Elliott got the snaps, which I thought he would, and he played okay. Deshaun Elliott coming from Detroit, that's one of those things where you're like, all right, I know what you have in Deshaun Elliott. He's not going to destroy your secondary, but he's not going to be a huge help. But luckily, he has Javon Holland playing next to him, who played like an elite safety in this game. He had an 86.4 grade on PFF. He didn't necessarily splash like crazy and everything, but he was just good. You didn't hear his name for any bad things either. So like that's one of those things where you're like, oh, thank goodness. Right? Thank goodness. So those are kind of the risers and fallers. Now let's talk quickly about this team and this offense and can it be stopped? My answer is if this offensive line is continuing to not allow sacks and only allow pressures on 1 out of every 5 dropbacks, this offense can't be stopped. Mostert, Waddle, Hill, the amount of speed that's on the field. Devin Achane was he was a healthy scratch. Right? That's not going to continue throughout the entirety of the year. It's only going to bring even more weaponry into this offense. If Tua stays healthy, I know every offense depends on the health. This is the best offense in football when healthy, period. I don't know what to tell you. The only other team that might be able to take a little bit of a, hey, what about us, is the Eagles. No, Tua's ability to throw and just the dynamic playmaking of this wide receiver duo between Hill and Waddle. Nope, that's it. You're the best offense in the league, and you cannot be stopped if you're firing on all cylinders and you're fully healthy. It would take a lot because the Chargers defense doesn't suck. So there you go. Let me know what you think of the video. Hit a comment. Do you agree with my takes? Any other risers, fallers, stuff like that? And hopefully enjoyed it, and subscribe. Watch more videos on the Dolphins. Let's go. See ya.